It is a great honor to
morning,
introduce Bimali Indrarathne, our esteemed plenary speaker for this session. With an impressive career spanning over 27 years in the field of linguistics and English language teaching, Professor Bimali Indrarathne has made significant contributions to the field of education, research, and professional development. Professor Bimali Indrarathne holds a PhD in Applied Linguistics from Lancaster University, UK, and an MA in TESOL from the same university. Also, she possesses an MA in Linguistics from the University of Kelaniya. Her academic journey began with a BA from the University of Readiness, Sri Lanka, showcasing her commitment to advancing knowledge in her field. Currently, she serves as a professor in ELT at the Department of Languages, Kotelawala Defence University, Sri Lanka, and she has previously held prestigious roles, including Associate Professor in Applied Linguistics at the University of York and Postdoctoral Fellow at both King's College, London and Lancaster University. Professor Bimali Indrarathne has a distinguished track record as a principal investigator and co-investigator on numerous prestigious research projects, securing substantial funding to advance inclusive practices and improve English language teaching globally. Her dedication to promoting equity in education has also earned her a reputation in language teaching and research. Professor Indrarathne has been recognized with several prestigious awards and scholarships throughout her academic career. She was one of the 3 finalists for the Best PhD Dissertation Award by the American Association for Applied Linguistics in 2019 and was one of only 25 recipients of the highly competitive ESRC Global Challenges Research Fund postdoctoral fellowship in 2017. She received a PhD scholarship from Lancaster University's Department of Linguistics and English Language and was awarded the esteemed Hornby Scholarship by the British Council 2011-2012 to pursue a master's degree in English language teaching in the UK. Professor Bimali Indrarathne is a prolific researcher and scholar whose work spans second language acquisition, inclusive education, and language assessment. Her scholarly contributions include widely cited journal articles in renowned publications such as Studies in Second Language Acquisition, TESOL Quarterly, and the Journal of the European Second Language Association, demonstrating her expertise in both theoretical and practical aspects of language education. She has also contributed significantly to understanding dyslexia and inclusive practices in language teaching, particularly in Sri Lanka. Beyond journal articles, Professor Indrarathne has authored teaching materials, research reports, and book chapters, further establishing her as a key figure in applied linguistics and education. Professor Indrarathne has delivered numerous impactful keynotes and plenaries at prestigious international and regional conferences, focusing on inclusive teaching, learning difficulties, and language education. Her addresses emphasized practical solutions for learning disabilities and the integration of inclusive teaching strategies, notably at events in Indonesia, Sri Lanka, and Thailand. She also facilitated a panel discussion on inclusive practices in English teaching at the SLELTEC conference. Professor Indrarathne was a plenary speaker in South Asia, Mexico, and Pakistan, addressing topics such as inclusive practices in ELT, neurodiversity, and teacher awareness of learning difficulties. She conducted workshops on vocabulary and reading skill development tailored for learners with specific learning difficulties, emphasizing practical classroom strategies. She has held a variety of key roles, demonstrating her leadership and expertise in both educational and administrative capacities. As an examiner, Professor Indrarathne has contributed to the academic rigor of several prestigious institutions, including serving as an external examiner for the MA TESOL program at the University of Bath and for the BA English and TESOL program at NIBM Sri Lanka. She has also worked as an IELTS and Cambridge ESOL examiner for the British Council and has examined MA theses for multiple Sri Lankan universities. In her administrative capacity, Professor Indrarathne has served as a member of the Senate and Board of Studies at General Sir John Kotelawala Defence University, and she chairs the Exceptional Circumstances Affecting Assessments Committee at the University of York. Additionally, she is the Deputy Research Centre Leader at the Centre for Research in Language Learning and Use, University of York, and has previously led the MA in Applied Linguistics program at the University of York. We are truly fortunate to have such a distinguished expert with us today, whose insights and transformative work continue to shape the fields of applied linguistics and English language teaching. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Professor Bimali Indrarathne. Over to you, Professor.
So I'm sorry if you hear any slamming of doors and windows because I'm in Trincomalee, so it's you might hear some noises. So please excuse for that. Okay, let me share my slides. Okay, so the conference theme is AI and English language teaching. I'm sure that within the last 2 days, you may have listened to several talks on how to use AI in English language teaching and also teacher training, assessment purposes. So you may have seen a lot of AI tools that you can use for different purposes. So what I thought I would discuss today is how we can ethically use AI in language education and research, because AI is becoming very popular and also readily available, easily accessible. So in that case, we tend to use AI more often, especially as teachers, teacher educators, as well as students. Now, even for our own studies, we can now use AI tools. But we also need to think how ethical is it to use certain AI tools, and then where to draw lines, like whether we could use AI to the maximum, or whether we need to decide to where to draw the line. So that's what I thought I will discuss today. So please ask questions whenever you have questions. Please feel free to disturb and ask questions. Ask me to clarify points if you have. Also, I'll give some time towards the end for any questions. So let's start with a brief introduction to artificial intelligence. So this is a definition. So it's called intelligent behavior by analyzing the environment and taking action with some degree of autonomy to achieve specific goals. So artificial intelligence, so we have human intelligence. We talk about human intelligence, but artificial intelligence is like machines behaving in a certain way, analyzing content and taking action. So that's very similar to how a human brain functions. But then what's different is that unlike the human brain, artificial intelligence tools, they need input from outside in terms of, like, for example, the internet. So apart from that, it actually works, like it has some kind of analytical ability to analyze the existing information. So in terms of AI, if we think of English language teaching, assessment, teacher training, research, there are hundreds of possibilities where we can use AI. For example, we can easily create materials. Now, imagine you want to create a reading material for your class. You can easily ask ChatGPT. You can give a prompt, like, so you can give the title, like the area, the topic area of the text you need. You can specify the proficiency level of the learners, the length of the text. You can say, write 100-word text at in elementary level on this topic. So likewise, you can create materials very easily. You can also create assessments, like you can ask, again, if you use ChatGPT, you can ask ChatGPT to come up with multiple choice items for a text. Or a grammar test. So there are a lot of things that you can create using AI tools. Then individualized assignments you can create. So you can feed in the information of individual learners, their strengths and weaknesses, and then AI can generate individualized assessments. You can create quizzes. Also, you can create interactive videos using AI tools. You can create games. So gamification is possible now. Adaptive assessments, like so what happens with AI is like depending on the test performance of the test takers, AI can change the content that it is showing the learners or the test takers, and also it can adjust the difficulty level of the assessment. So that type of assessment is possible with AI. Music and other compositions. So in terms of, like, if we think of higher education and research, AI can create literature reviews, and also AI can assist to write scholarly articles. If you feed in what you need, like if you feed in the data, AI can generate text. Then it can give multilingual support. So imagine learners don't understand some words in English, and they can ask AI to give the Sinhala version or Tamil version. So some kind of multilingual support is available. And then AI can differentiate the learning specifically for learners with special needs, different disabilities. So AI can be used to accommodate such learners. AI can be used to mark your assessments. Like AI can grade if you feed in, like, if it is writing. So if you feed in the writing rubrics and also assessment criteria, AI can grade the writing. You can use AI to plan lessons. It can generate different types of reports. Again, you feed in what you need and then you get the report. Story generation, a lot of story. So you can again give some prompts and then you can get the story created. So art creation is possible now, video creation, image creation is possible. Also, AI can suggest appropriate research methods for a researcher. Also, you can do research data collection. So the possibilities are endless in terms of how we can use AI in our field. But the problem is, like, one thing is to what extent we can use this, and then how ethical is it to use all these options, although they are freely or readily available. The other thing is AI is becoming freely available now. So like ChatGPT, you can do it. You just need the internet. So because of that, even students nowadays use a lot of AI tools. So as teachers and teacher educators, we need to know what AI can do. Then only we can understand whether the students, particularly students, whether they use AI ethically. Even us, when we use AI, whether we follow any ethical practices. So these are some of the commonly available AI tools that we can use, like Canva, so Magic Write online AI text generator, then reading and writing, you can see ChatGPT here. So auto pen option. There are so many AI tools. These are like only a very few AI tools which are currently available. So I would like you to think, like, we discussed there are several possibilities where we can use AI, but think about these options and you can turn on the microphone and tell me, like, which ones do you think are ethical and which ones do you think are unethical in terms of AI use. So if you look at these 7 possibilities.
Third one is unethical, madam. Use
Which
an
one?
AI tool. Third one.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
First one ethical, ma'am.
Third one
Okay.
is this, and how about the last one?
Yeah. Okay. Research data. Okay. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Third one and last one, ma'am.
Third one, use an AI tool to write a formal assignment, and the last one, use AI to generate research data. Okay, so it seems like a lot of you agree that third and seventh one are unethical. But what about number 5? Use
And the
AI
one
tools
before
to
the
mark,
and one
assess,
before the last, madam.
generate formal reports.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So fifth one, what do you think? Like, if you mark students' assignments using AI, do you think it's ethical or unethical? What's your idea?
I think it depends on the assignments.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, probably if it is formative, probably also okay. Any other ideas? Like, what about the fourth one? Use an AI tool to do error corrections before submitting a formal assignment.
I think it's ethical.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Okay, if like imagine you ask students write an essay, formal essay, and then they use AI and do all the error corrections and submit the essay. But you are an English language teacher, so what do you think of that?
If it marks all the errors in the paper, it will be confusing for the child.
Yeah, what I mean is now the child uses AI, so he or she writes the essay, and then use ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT to correct all the errors, and then he or she submits the error corrected version for you to mark.
Do you mean grammatical errors
Yes, grammatical errors, vocab errors, any errors. So because the AI can detect all the errors, right? So AI helps the child to, yeah.
We won't be able to get the correct standard of the child.
Yeah. So especially in our field, we need to think whether this is acceptable, because our job is to see whether the students are at the correct proficiency level, whether they need any language help. So if we allow learners to do the error correction using AI tools, we may not be able to assess their true ability, true language ability. So there are issues like this, although sometimes like we don't think, okay, we think, okay, it's okay to do the error correction, but in terms of assessment, so can we come to proper conclusions if we get AI generated text or AI helped, AI assisted text, right? So unethical in terms of like sometimes from the point of the teacher, also sometimes from the point of the learner, and also institution. So we need to think whether we can allow we can use AI as teachers. So teacher trainers, we can allow learners to use, but then where are we going to draw the line? What are we allowing them to do? Now if I take the fourth one again, to what? So because somebody asked whether it's grammar errors, right? So can we say, okay, you can correct only the grammar errors or only vocabulary errors using AI? So where are we going to draw the line? So these are some of the questions which we do not still have answers to, because AI is new and it's becoming popular. And then there are all kinds of other issues, right? So I'm not going to answer the questions like these questions, but then towards the end we'll discuss what we can do in terms of making sure that everybody gets a fair chance, and whether and we being able to assess learners accurately. Okay, so I'm going to discuss few scenarios in terms of AI and ethics. Now, the first one is it's not from in our field, it's from the medical field. I'll give you a couple of seconds to read this one. So you can see in this study, they found that 40%, 48% of the urologists use ChatGPT and other language models for medical research. So they didn't use it for patient care, but there are some people like who use it for patient care. So what the paper concludes is like they say it's about compromising academic integrity and also misleading information, false information. Now, so if we start searching for some, like, if we use the internet for some information, now how can we trust? If we use AI to detect something, how can we trust? Who is giving us the assurance that this is trustworthy? What AI says is trustworthy. So this is one of the problems in terms of using AI. So here, this one, like I said, this is in the medical field, so it's kind of like it could be very serious. Even in our field also, we can ask AI tool to give us information about a topic. But then who is going to check? So if your students use AI, so you ask them to write about solar system, and then they use AI to find out information. But can you trust, or can the students trust the information? Is the information correct? Who is going to check? How are you going to check? So these questions are there when using AI. So trustworthiness of what the tools are providing. Okay, so read this scenario. This is very interesting. This happened in 2020, but please read this. So what happened was, so the A-level exam was, it was not possible to hold the A-level exam due to the pandemic. So then they used an algorithm to determine students' scores. So then, so it was found, like, it was estimated that almost 40% of the students received grades lower than they had anticipated. So because there was no exam, so the algorithm was asked to determine these students' scores based on their previous exam results. There are different variables that they used, and then they came up with scores. But then what happened was, like, students felt that their true score was not portrayed by this algorithm, and also there was bias. Now, if you read the second paragraph, you can see that where there was a small number of students, their grades were higher than anticipated. Those last one by 4.7% points, more than double the rate for state comprehensive schools. So the question was whether the grades were correct, whether there was any bias in the assessment, right? So because AI tools work in a particular way that it can only analyze the data that is fed in or available. So there can be data which is not available to the AI tools. So then their assessments, their scoring, those can be faulty. So this was an occasion where this became problematic, like how AI determines students' scores and students' performance. So this is the second scenario that I wanted to show you in terms of AI use and ethics. Right. So let's go to the third one. Now, this is an assessment question, right? So imagine you give this assignment. Write an assignment on different types of reading techniques. Now, imagine you teach at a teacher training college, and then you ask students to write this assignment. So word count is there. So you say use at least 5 academic sources. Okay, let me show you what happens if we use AI tools. So I guess you can see my computer screen, right? So can you see ChatGPT on my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, right. Let me paste that question, assignment question. So you can see the citations. Okay, so in like 5-6 seconds you get the assignment. So your assignment is an academic essay, but then what happens is like you just type it on ChatGPT and you get the assignment. So the question is like, is it ethical? Can we mark that? Can we detect that? So if somebody gives you like a printout of this assignment, can you detect whether that is AI generated, whether that's the person has written that? So how are we going to determine this? So this is another question of AI ethical use of AI, right? So this is that is the third scenario. This one is from assessment. Okay, so let me show you 2 more examples, 2 more scenarios, right? So we can create, in terms of like AI now, we can create videos, right? So let me show you an example. So this is AI video generator. You just type something here. So let's type so here you can see, I guess you can see my screen, right? So here you can see add face. You can actually upload a picture. Now I can upload my picture. So the video will be of myself writing on the whiteboard. So you can generate, you can ask, so ask the, it will take about 8 minutes, so I will not do that. So this is a video I generated previously. I asked this tool to create a video of a teacher teaching English in a school, right? So this is the video. And it's so easy to do this nowadays using AI tools. Now, the problem here is, now here you can see add face. Like I said, you can upload any image. I can upload my image, but I don't know where my image will end up after that, because now if I upload it, it's freely available for anyone. So then that image can be used to create other types of videos, other types of material. So without thinking, sometimes we do these things like upload our images, but then what we do by doing that is like making this content available to anyone. Especially imagine like you want to make your learnings, make your teaching very interesting, interactive. So you take students' pictures and then create videos like this. Your purpose can be very genuine. right? But the problem is we don't know where these get set and who have access to these materials and images. And also, I'm not sure whether you remember, I think about 2 years ago, there was this advertisement in Sri Lanka where they created AI video of some singers. So then again, problems like ethical problems can arise, right? So this is another thing. Now, yes, AI is available. We can create all these materials, but then in terms of ethics, where are we going to end up, right? I'll show you another example. So this is Padlet. I'm sure you are familiar with Padlet. Now you can actually create, Padlet has AI Art Studio now. So you go here, you can write like you want to create an image, let's say a teacher teaching kids, right? So you can say I can't draw, and then so Padlet can give you the image that you need. So it has 4 images. You just choose whatever you want. And then you publish. Okay, so here again, we need to, we can use like, storytelling, story creation, picture matching tasks and all this. We can use this again, but we need to again think like whether we are uploading any images and whether that is ethical. So these are some of the scenarios that I wanted to highlight in terms of like if we talk about ethics in AI use. Okay, so we did scenario 4. Okay, so the last scenario I wanted to discuss is there was this study in 2023. What they did was they compared, they compared the introductions of some research articles, human written introductions, and then they made ChatGPT write similar introductions, and then 8 assessors graded the introductions. So the findings were, so the assessors found that the ChatGPT generated introductions and human written introductions in terms of quality, they are the same. And then it's actually, they felt that ChatGPT or GPT-4 introductions were a bit better in terms of readability. And also more assessors preferred the GPT-4 introduction. So this shows again, in terms of us, like as teachers who always we need to assess our learners, look at their writing. So we may not be able to even spot the difference between AI generated writing and also human generated writing. So again, there is a question about ethics. Who owns the writing? So in this case, so the GPT-4 created introductions, who owns them? Who is taking the responsibility, right? So if there is something wrong, if the information is incorrect, then who is taking the responsibility in terms of research publication? So this type of ethical questions are there when we use AI in teaching, assessment, and also research. So briefly about academic integrity. When we say academic integrity, it's like not just in studies, but in any profession also. We need to comply with ethical and professional principles, standards, practices, and values. For example, copyright. Then if I create something that's like that belongs to me, and then I have the responsibility. So then to what extent can we protect the copyrights of people who create the original text? So these type of questions are there, and when it comes to academic integrity. Also, in terms of research, now I mentioned that we can use research. We can use AI to do research. Like, AI can determine the research methods. They can show us the data collection tools. They can even come up with literature reviews and all these. But then, what's the purpose of us doing research? Now, we need to think about whether the genuineness of our research, right? So rigor, so how rigorously we engage in research. If we use AI, can it do that? Also credibility. Now, if we do data collection, when we analyze the data, so there is some credibility. We can say, okay, these are my participants, and this is how I collected data, and so I have the right. I can show anybody. So what happened and the quality of the data. But then, in terms of AI, if we use AI to do the same thing, so who takes the responsibility? Also transparency. If we use AI, so it lacks transparency in research and research writing. I think the most important thing is implications in terms of research. Now, imagine you conduct a study, and let's say you compare two teaching methods, like to teach vocabulary and grammar. To teach vocabulary, you compare two methods and you collect data from two groups and then you analyze, right? So then implications could be this method is better than that method, sometimes something like that. So you give the implications to the teachers. But then if you use AI to do the same thing, the implication, who is taking the responsibility of the implications? Because you haven't done it. So it's just the AI. We don't know whether the information is correct. So then we can't also trust the implications. So that type of questions, ethical questions are there if we use AI for research. Now, what I'm saying is, I'm not saying that we can't use AI, but then we need to be careful in how we use it, when we use it, and then for what purposes that we use it. So in terms of acceptable use of AI, again, this is a really gray area. Now, I'm pretty sure that you, I don't know if I'm wrong, you can correct me. I haven't seen, especially in Sri Lanka, I haven't seen guidelines on how to use AI in a particular field, right? So if you have seen, please let me know. Please mention that. These guidelines depend on many factors. So educational institutions should come up with their own guidelines. Like, for example, we have assessment guidelines. You can do this, you can't do this, something like that. So AI should be included, right? So, for example, if students write assignments, can they use AI? If so, to what extent, for what purposes? So these guidelines should be there, and whether AI is acceptable or not, it should be determined by these educational institutions. Then academic disciplines. Now, our field is English language teaching. There are other fields like computing, engineering. Probably in engineering, they might say, okay, you can write paragraphs using AI, but then can we do that in our field, right? So we can't, because our job is to teach language. And then if we ask students to create paragraphs using AI, then we can't check their language. We don't teach language to them. So the acceptable use of AI, again, it depends on the academic discipline that we are in. Also, types of assessments. Right. So I was mentioning that. So it's better not to completely prevent students using AI, because they might anyway use it. So you can give the guidelines, like you can decide which part they can use, for which part they can use AI and for which part they can't. Right. So Also, it depends on other things like the culture, regions where we are. So Asian countries and European countries may change the rules, and then also it depends on the country. Now, these are, like I said, gray areas. We don't really know exactly what we are doing with AI. So I think it's if you are a teacher, it's good to have your own rules in a way, until we come up with, like, more acceptable universal rules. So these are some of the issues related to using AI. Now, there can be bias, like I mentioned in the UK context, the scenario we discussed. So AI tools may become biased, right? So may favor some of the races, some of the religions, or whatever. So it can be biased. So also the content, like whether whether the content is correct. Also, are the tools universally accessible? So accessibility issue is also there. Then the privacy issue. How are they going to use our data? Now, like I said, I will not upload my image for that video because I don't know where my image would end up. Right? So how are they going to use our data, our information? So how are they going to use copyright material? So like, the essay we wrote using ChatGPT, it can use different sources, but then will it give credit to the sources? So that's again problematic. Who is going to access our data? And then there are other concerns like transparency. Now, who developed these tools, these AI tools, and what's their business purpose? And what have these tools been trained to do? So these questions are also there. And accuracy-wise, is the content accurate? Can we trust the information? Is the content relevant? What about the authenticity and credibility? So all these questions are there when using AI in anything, like in particularly education, assessments, and teacher training, also content creation, all these areas. So also, although I showed you a previous scenario where there was a study, they found that ChatGPT introductions are very similar to human generated, but then there are other studies showing the opposite. So in this study, they found that AI generated texts are not really similar to natural human communication. So there are studies coming up like this as well. So we can think whether AI can do what humans can do. So these are some of the things for you to think. Accuracy, whether you can test the accuracy. So you get information, right? So I asked ChatGPT to give me different reading techniques, but are they correct? How can we see whether they are correct? Or whether they are research generated information. So that's something we need to think. So also you can then, next step would be, can other credible sources outside of generative AI validate the items, right? So you can check with the other sources like published articles, books, to see whether AI generated content is accurate. That's another possibility. So also, how does the information generated by AI impact or influence your thinking pattern on this topic? That's because, like I said, AI can be biased. So you need to think about that. Who is represented in this data? Is the data inclusive in terms of material scope and perspectives? So inclusivity, we need to think, and also avoiding biases. So again, if we use student data, right? So if we upload something like a student essay and ask AI to mark it, then the data gets stored, right? So are we letting our students know that this is happening? Are we taking their consent? Because this data will be available probably forever on the internet. So what about privacy agreements, right? So these things we need to think seriously if we continue to use AI in our teaching and assessment. So some of the ethical practices are like if we use AI for content creation, for example, acknowledging the sources and tools. So we can acknowledge if we use ChatGPT for writing text, or if we use Padlet to create a story, create images. So acknowledging is important, and also specifying the input given to an AI tool. Now, you saw how I typed on the AI tools, right? So the prompts, it's important to mention the prompts we have used if we are publishing something that we have created using AI. Then authorship, you can't cite AI as a co-author because AI can't take responsibility. So a human should take responsibility of what we are creating. And then you need to be careful. If you produce something written by AI, then AI can't take responsibility. AI will not take responsibility. But then if something is inaccurate, who is going to take responsibility? So it's very important that you check what AI produces. Also providing guidelines for using AI to all students. If you are a teacher trainer, probably to teachers. AI detection software. So Turnitin nowadays, they have this section called AI detection. There are other software. So are we using AI detection software, particularly when we assess learners' writing? So that's something we need to think about. Verifying the accuracy of AI content using other ways. Like I said, you can use original sources to check. Teacher training is very, very important on the appropriate use of AI. Also, institutional and national policies should be there in terms of how AI can be ethically used in education, not just in education, but in any field. Right, so these are the references, and thank you for listening. And I'm happy to answer any questions if you have. Okay, then let me ask you a question. Now, what do you think of, like, have you thought about ethical use of AI, or is it like it's available and you just use it, like you don't think about it that much, or what's your stance?
Could you please repeat the question again, ma'am?
Yeah, so because nobody asked questions, so I asked the question, like, what to let's say until now, have you thought about ethical use of AI, or you just, it's like, it's freely available, you just use it?
So that was a question in our minds, but still we didn't know how to check it and all that. So anyway, it's good that you talked about these things, because we can think and decide, like we can give draw the lines where they'll have to use and where they should not.
Okay.
Excuse me, Madam Bimali.
Yes.
I'm Mazni here. Hi.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to say that every time, let's say I have my students as well, writing assignments, submitting assignments and all, I see that many of them are using ChatGPT, of course, yeah. So I always remind them that it's okay to take, but make sure that you paraphrase them and make sure that the sources are well cited, and make sure that all these happen so that it becomes a little bit practical in that nature. Yeah.
Yeah. That's true. So that's why I said, like, you can't. Oh, I think we shouldn't.
We cannot say that you cannot use
we
it.
shouldn't stop them using AI, but then I think they need to know about ethics, because it's like you can do there are endless possibilities, right? So there can be occasions where they don't use AI ethically. So I think awareness raising among students is also important, and giving them, like, strict guidelines on when to use, where to use, and how to use.
Hello,
Yes,
madam.
indeed. Yeah.
This is what, madam. We have to give a proper guidance to use the particular AI tools for them. If not, they will use it in another way. So
Yeah.
it will be difficult to handle V2 because we want to analyze them their actual standard and how actual growth of the students. So because of this only, or we have to instruct them not to beyond always this AI tools.
Yeah. Also, there's another issue, right? So not just ethics, but then also it's an issue of creativity, right? So if they get used to use AI all the time, what about their creativity, their own thinking, right? So that can also be affected.
That is true, madam. Because of that only, not to always not to depend on that. We have to guide them to take their own creativity without beyond these things.
Yeah, I think one of the things we can do is like we can go for alternative assignments, not just like not writing all the times, but different types of assignments. Like they go out. If we are in teacher training, probably we ask our teacher trainees to go out and do something practically. So maybe like we can reduce the amount of writing they do using AI.
Yeah, more project based. Yeah.
Yes.
Most of the time, if we do the practical, they can easily keep that in their mind and they can apply it in a proper manner.
Yes.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a question, does overly using AI decline critical and analytical thinking? Well, I mean, it's possible, right? So I don't think there is any, I haven't seen any studies on that. But then if we always do something mechanically, like, we don't think, okay, we go and do ChatGPT, I think with time, we will not be able to think about anything. We will need the tool to do that.
I have a question. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Madam, if there's somebody who needs to be thorough on each of these, AI tools, would you recommend any package of tools to study for somebody to be thorough about?
You mean the AI tools?
Yes.
Okay, so the common ones are something like ChatGPT is very common and very easily you can use it. Like you don't need to even subscribe. You can do the basics using that. I'll give you some names. Like you can use Canva. So this AI video generator. There's something called. Okay, let me show this. It seems this has a lot of options. Magic School. So you can create lesson plans, materials. So this is something you can try. Text scaffolding, presentations, reports, cards, images, text, many options. So this is something you can try. Okay, I think our time is up. So probably we can finish now.
Thank you very much, madam. Your insights and expertise made a significant impact, and we are grateful for your valuable contribution. Once again, thank you for sharing your knowledge and making our event a success.
Thank you.